Hello and welcome back to Restoring Les Chartres. I'm Hugo, and with my wife Romy and our cat Phoebe, we're restoring this historic townhouse in the southwest of France. So the main goal for 2026 for the renovation is to restore the upstairs or the attic. And this week we've started progressing it, and more on that later. But right now I'm in the bedroom, which is the area that we've restored the most recently. And the reason I'm here is because today we're going to tackle insulating the floorboards of the bedroom. We've actually insulated all of the external walls of the property, but we have not insulated the cave or the basement of the property. And we're starting to really feel the cold drafts coming from the cellar. And especially since we're starting work on the upstairs, having no insulation in the attic and no insulation in the basement is a bit of a craziness. So let's go down there now and I'll tell you what we're going to do. So just above me now is the bedroom, and so these joists here hold up the floorboards, which are the floors for the bedroom. And as you can tell right now, in between the joists there's no insulation, so we're going to try and rectify that and put some insulation in. Before I do that, I kind of need to clear up some of the stuff that is in between the joists. We've got some old nails, general old wiring and things like that. They're going to block a bit the insulation. So the start of another cold day here in France. We have done all the insulation, which took way longer than expected. I feel like that's a phrase that I use the whole time now. It took way longer than expected, but it took way longer than expected. I put in this thinking it would take maybe a day at most, took 2 days, and the insulation was just a nightmare to put in because of just shoving it into this small angle and cutting it was just... It created so much dust, so much, yeah, it was actually horrible to put it in, because when you put it in like this, all the dust just falls straight on your head, in your eyes, everywhere. So the plan is now we're going to try and cover all of this stuff with a breathable membrane and then tape it up. This should hopefully stop some of the drafts getting up into the bedroom, because right now it's kind of insulated, but it's not really sealed against the airflows.
I'm getting worried about spots and insulation.
It's fine, it's meant to be relatively fireproof.
We put up all the membrane successfully. It was a bit of a challenge to put it on the left hand side because we had all these kind of cables and piping that we couldn't really remove the fixtures, so we had to work around it and tape it up. So it's not exactly the best done, but it's there, it works. At least it's in place. So I'm going to tackle now putting up a wall on this side here. The reason I'm going to do this is because in future this will hold some cabinets and like a saw station for my woodworking. Comes a point in every week of the renovation where the dust just gets too much. You stop seeing the potential of the house and you just see the mess. That's when we know it's time to put down the tools and step outside. So this week, we took our bikes down to Place Baie-Bellande. It's right in the heart of Bordeaux, but tucked away on one side of the square, under the heavy shade of the trees, time seems to move a little slower. It's strange how a few rows of plain trees can turn a city square into a sanctuary. Sitting there in the dappled sunlight with the cathedral looming above us, an accordion player started a waltz. I know, it sounds like a cliche, like the romantic French life that everyone talks about. But when you're actually sitting there listening to the music drift through the square, you realize why the cliche exists. The market in this square itself is tiny. It's intimate, just 5 or 6 sellers with their trestle tables set up in the shade. It's not about volume, it's about the hunt. We spent ages just rifling through boxes of vintage editions and bande dessinée. In France, comics are religion, and finding these vintage editions feels like uncovering a time capsule. We found a beautiful crumbling edition of Les Petits Pains that smelt like vanilla and old paper, and a vintage Asterix album that we couldn't just leave behind. But I have to admit, the other reason this square is so dangerous for us is that it sits right next door to the Quincaillerie Besson. We've talked about this place before. It's an absolute treasure trove of antique hardware. There's something so satisfying about going from buying old paper to browsing for heavy antique brass fittings. It's all part of the same love for the past. Recharged, inspired, And with a bag full of books, we were ready to face the dust again. So this is the attic and where we left off the last home tour video on a kind of bit of a cliffhanger, if you will, about what we're going to do up here. As you can see up here, we're starting completely from scratch basically. We're redoing everything, insulation, walls, rooms, everything here is going to be done from scratch. And that's kind of why it looks such a mess at the moment. But that's all going to change. Very excitingly, we have started tackling it this week, which is great news, and I'll get onto that in a bit. So the plan up here is we want to divide it into 3 rooms, 2 bedrooms and 1 ensuite bathroom. Behind me, what we're going to have is a long master bedroom, which is going to have the 2 Velux windows pouring in lots of light into that space. In terms of the color schemes in this room, we haven't really decided on it at the minute. So the designs that I'm showing on screen are kind of work in progress. The color schemes there aren't really defined. It's just to give you guys an idea. And again, if you have ideas about what we can do in these spaces, please drop a comment below. You know, it's super helpful every time you guys give your opinions. It really, really does impact what we do in the house. So please give your opinions, whether they're good or bad. You hate the stuff, you like the stuff. We read it all and we take it into consideration. So off the master bedroom, we're going to have an ensuite bathroom here with a bath, vanity and toilet built in. And this is what we started on this week. Very excitingly, we've had work done to get this started. Before in this space, when we were doing the designs for this plan, we were a little bit worried because the bathroom didn't really have any light. There's no windows that side. And so we decided that we really wanted to put in a window. And it just so happened that on this side of the house, we have an old condemned chimney, which you guys might have seen in some of the videos from the exterior shots. It's the weird thing that you used to see on the left-hand side of the building, which had some kind of orange traffic going on top of it. So we got this assessed by a stonemason, and basically they said you need to remove this as soon as possible because it's going to fall on the roof and make a lot of damage. So basically, as part of that, we decided that we want to bundle in removing the chimney and putting in a window at the same time in the same spot where the chimney was. So fortunately this week we had some stonemasons and roofers come in and do that for us. We did think about doing this ourselves, but right now it's the winter and it's quite rainy in Bordeaux, and it would have taken us a long time to do, and so we really didn't want to have like this open roof for an extended period of time. So we paid a little bit extra money to get professionals. I'm so glad we did because they were super professional and got it done so quickly over a couple of days, and also in really bad conditions. It was really, really cold in Bordeaux and it's actually started to snow. So these poor guys were working outside in really cold temperatures. But now we've added in this skylight. It transforms the space massively. You can see the light pouring in. It really gives us hope for what we're going to do in this bathroom and really helps visualize what it will be like in the future. I'm super excited to get started on that as soon as possible. I think it's probably the room we'll tackle first once we have all of the plasterboards and stuff up. And then the final room that we're going to have up here is another bedroom just to the south end of the space. And for now, this is just going to be a bit of a white box and also probably a craft room for Romy instead of an actual bedroom, because we don't need that many bedrooms at the moment. So now we have all of the major works done up here, such as the skylight and the chimney, and we've done some of the insulation downstairs to kind of keep that heat in. We're going to start tackling this place right from next week, which is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting this done because it is going to change so much in the house. And really not be this kind of shame area where we have all this insulation and this terrible space. Although Phoebe absolutely loves it up here. She loves anything that has a massive amount of dirt. She just gravitates towards it. So unfortunately she's going to lose her play area for a bit, but it will pay dividends in the future when she can have a nice cozy space. Again, if you have suggestions up here or kind of tips that we should know before tackling this space, please let us know in the comments below. We read everything, as I said before, and it really helps us with our renovation.
So today I want to spend a bit of time decorating the living room. I got some ideas after going to the same antique market we found the fabric panels for the bedroom out. So at this market I found these scraps of fabric. They're not really big, but they're very nice, and I immediately thought that they would look really good as cushions for the living room. And it's been on my list to make some new cushions so it looks a bit better. So I'm going to make 2 cushion covers. I'm quite new at sewing, but I would really like to get better this year. So maybe creating some piping could be a new way to learn something new and challenge myself. So we'll see how this goes. And also have call-off frames that I need to put up. So this is what I'm going to do for the next few days. Hopefully it will make the living room look even better. I've made some progress on the first pillow. It's already quite dark, so I don't know what I'm going to finish on the second one. So I've cut the 2 pieces of fabric here. So I went for this one. It's going to be like a long pillow for the cover, and then the back will be this nice velvet. And I'm making the binding in this velvet fabric as well. I think my execution is going to be pretty average, so please be kind with me. But it's pretty cool. I'm happy. I've learned some new things. I've learned how to change the pressure foot on my machine, which I had never done before. That was pretty cool. And I've made this binding thing as well, which was fun. I'm enjoying learning new things on this machine. With the cushions finally finished, it was time to turn our attention upward to that beautiful pen and shade that we scored at the vintage market. It's not actually an antique, but it's handmade by a lovely local artisan here in Bordeaux. The design felt like it belonged in this living room the moment we saw it, adding just the right touch of modernity the space needed. I had grand plans to use a ceramic ceiling medallion to anchor the light, but as is tradition with this renovation, nothing went exactly to plan. The plasterboard screws didn't have enough clearance, so I had to pivot to a simple black fixture that mounts directly to the socket box. It's definitely temporary until we find the perfect replacement, but it works for now. With the lighting sorted, the final touch was tackling the stack of picture frames we had accumulated over the festive period to really personalize the space. I had been itching to properly style the lower shelves of the bookcase Hugo built, that had been sitting far too bare for my liking. First piece to go up was this wonderful photo, gifted by friends, of a weekend trip to Saint-Emilion. It really captures that slow magic of French countryside that makes living here so special. On one side of the bookcase, I decided to put up this cat illustration made by my father in the late 90s that I absolutely adore. And on the other side, this lovely antique print depicting a carriage bound for Windsor. We bought it from the same seller who sold us a portrait of this old lady. Hugo wasn't a huge fan of her when we first saw her, but I really fell in love, and I'm not really sure why, except that she reminded me of my late grandmother, and I knew she would be right at home in a hallway. By the bookcase, I added these ink drawings, also from my dad, made more recently and inspired by his life in Dordogne. I've also decided to hang these 2 old postcards by the door depicting Seaton and Tiverton in Devon, where Hugo and I lived for 3 years. The Tiverton postcard actually seems to have been taken from the National Trust estate where I used to volunteer for flower picking, where I have lots of lovely memories. The final touch was this painting in the hallway, a Christmas present from my dad. I really love this painting, but I was not a fan of the treatment of the frame. So I decided to strip it bare and restore the wood, and I'm really happy with the result. And looking back at those cushion covers, honestly, they didn't turn out exactly how I envisioned, but I'm trying to focus on the fact that I learned a new skill, and I'm planning to learn upholstering this year, so maybe they can be my reference point by year's end. It's all about progress, right? Standing back and looking at the room now, it's wild to remember what this space looked like just a year ago. It's been a long road, but it finally feels less like a construction site and much more like home.